Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the only podcast in India where we bring a new industry leader on every episode to talk about their journey and their story of building a company. And today we have with us Shalini Sankarshana, who is the managing director at Planview, which is a end-to-end platform for strategic portfolio management and digital product development. Hi, Shalini. Welcome to ELI.
Thank you so much, Piranjan, and glad to be on part of ELI. And as I was saying earlier, really happy to see leaders like yourself talking about products. India clearly needs to be a product nation for us to lead forward, and I'm very passionate about that vision. So happy to be here.
All right. So to start with, Shalini, I would love to hear about your journey so far, what all work that you have done over the years before arriving at Planview.
Sure. Think have had the fortune of working across multiple generations of software product development over the last 2.5 decades, and primarily worked on various parts of investment banking and banking financial services sector. And now in the this latest tenure, I've been truly fortunate to work across multiple industries,
Mhm.
industries such as automotive to pharma to life sciences, CPG, retail, oil and gas. So it's phenomenal. Like I say, I'm absolutely thrilled at the way the world is changing. And the journey has been fascinating, Niranjan, in multiple aspects. If I think about how I have been part of the evolution of this whole software as an industry itself, from Y2K to where we were in subprime mortgage crisis in 2008, and everything that changed in the industry, in the market, in geopolitics. So that whole macro environment change. Then, from a technology standpoint, where we were still talking of client server, three-tier, front end, back end, middleware. Today, we're talking of agentic AI in various forms, and that's again another fascinating evolution from people's standpoint and what India is doing as a country, both for India and for the world. I think that has tremendously grown. I have been fortunate to be part of all of these, both through my work as part of my career, but also because of some of the activities, volunteering activities that I do as part of industry bodies such as NASCOM and Zinov, etc., where we are really trying to see how do we build product leadership as a key trait in our industry, in this market, in this workforce. So yeah, the story has gone through multiple dimensions, and as a person, as an individual, I have grown myself, and I have had the fortune of working with some of the best people, and truly being in one of the best cities, Bangalore. It is buzzing hub of innovation. You go around anywhere, you are in the middle of,
Right.
some fascinating conversations.
Absolutely. And if you can explain a bit about what Planview is doing, I think Planview is one of those rare companies which is, yeah, we speak about build in India and build for the world, make in India initiative, but that sometimes gets, sort of categorized into something around manufacturing, but nobody realizes that India is also a leading exporter of technology, especially product-based technology. And I think Planview is sort of one of the leading players in that. Can you tell us what Planview is doing?
Sure. That's a great question, by the way. I mean, you're absolutely right. If you really look at evolution, before I touch upon plan view, a quick preamble. If you really look at evolution of the software itself in India, right? While it began in the initial days as to exporting of services, exporting of people is where we started, right? The knowledge
Mhm.
itself.
Yes.
Then it became exporting of services plus expertise of the people. And then slowly in parallel, there was this whole dimension of building products and exporting IP, which kind of has begun.
Mm.
And again, in that, you have two sets of organizations. One is truly domestic organizations building for here and continuing to develop. Then there are global organizations where a host of innovations, the worldwide innovations are happening right here in India. And that is helping both the India as a market as well as the global marketplace being really serviced by the workforce here. So I think Planview kind of sits there. It's a global organization, being a category leader in the space that we are in, which is we service a strategic portfolio management and digital product management domains, through which we help organizations really run their transformations, run their businesses in a very transparent, seamless way. As we do that, we service organizations across every sector: banking, financial services, automotive, health, life sciences, retail, government, manufacturing, R&D. So what happens is we have this beautiful cross-sectional view of what's going on in each industry, and we help every industry.
Mm-hmm.
Through that, we also went into this intentional leap into really helping India as a marketplace, along with building out India as a development center. As we were doing that, it's been a real privilege to work with some of the largest Indian businesses, who are really changing the world. I mean, iconic businesses like TVS Motors, some global businesses like British Telecom, which has the biggest home base sitting out of Bangalore, even though it's a British company. We have companies like Aditya Birla. So we are working with each of these and for various use cases. And what we really help each of these companies do is, in essence, drive their businesses, their internal transformation goals, their internal business priorities. Planview essentially sits as a consulting advisory, helping the whole organization run this transformation as a software provider. So I think that's been the journey so far.
Got it. Can you take examples of what kind of problems are you solving for each of these clients? You mentioned about TVS, Aditya Birla, and British Telecom. Give some examples of what kind of problems are you solving for them?
Without going into specifics, because some of these customers obviously have a lot of activities going on, let me abstract them into probably few categories of problems that we help solve.
Sure.
Companies are dealing with change, right? So today, change is so rampant. Change is happening because somewhere I was reading, as of today, there are 56 wars going on in the world. Can you
Oh,
imagine?
yeah.
So imagine the geopolitical turbulence that's happening. Any organization trying to make money, trying to build a profitable business is going through so much change from a marketplace standpoint. Number one, change factor.
Right.
Number two, there is change just because of technology. All of us know this. I mean, today, every single entity is getting affected by the technology changes. Technology is just pushing businesses to operate differently. The best example is Aadhaar in India, and that is a technology change. The third kind of change the businesses are dealing with is this whole trade agreement, tariffs, and all of this up and downs that's going on in the trading environment, which puts so much business pressures on cost and financials. So
Right.
with all of these changes, right, each company is dealing with, how do I, even the biggest companies have limited resources, have
Mm.
limited capital to allocate. The first problem any successful business has to worry about is, how do I prioritize my spending, my investment, my people, my resources, my investment overall strategy in the right way, pick the right strategies, execute them the right way. And if you have to pivot because something changed, a black swan event like pandemic happened, how do I keep pivoting
Mm.
fast enough, being agile enough, so that I can continue to be a successful business? That's the biggest problem statement they're going through. This was always a problem statement for every business, but it's just been exacerbated now because of the amount of change, correct? So that's number one problem statement. Which means today I might be, let's say, if you take 10, 15 years ago, retail was all about how many stores do I open.
Mhm.
Suddenly now that's no longer just your target metric. You have to now look at what is your online presence and what's the business model. So you've changed the entire operating model, right? But you still have to operate your business. So how do I invest in offline versus online? It's a simple problem statement. For that, that whole investment planning and strategic prioritization is one of the biggest problems that Planview helps solve. Second problem people are looking at is, okay, I want to expand my business in one, two, three markets. But for me to expand here, this is what I need. But what I know is in my company, I already am doing one, two, three, four, 10 things. So how do I balance my priorities where I have investment ambitions? I have to still run my business. I need to understand what is loss making and what is profit making. I have to make continuous decisions so that my organization also moves. It's not that I take a decision and move on, but the entire organization has to pivot and keep moving towards it, right? So that whole moving the organization towards a change, which includes how do you plan, how do you execute, how do you continue to monitor, measure, keep track, and then keep pivoting back, is again a second big statement which organizations are working through. The third is pure cost pressure. With
Mhm.
so much going on, I want to, you know, save my cost as a business. Let's say I want to look at making my profitability higher, my productivity higher, but I don't want to spend more. What is the best way? I mean, people can't just go around cutting businesses down just so that they can reduce cost, because then it's affecting the top line. So how do you again make a priority call on what's the right way to identify productivity bottlenecks? Where is the problem that you're looking at your priority versus your day to day and matching these, strategy to execution gap. So these are the three categories of problem statements. So if you take simple examples of sectors, let's say automotive today is going through two big pressures. One is everybody is moving into an EV mode, right?
Mhm.
Each automotive has to go into an electric vehicle mode, and sustainability is a big driver for them.
Right.
At the same time, they have to still keep their auto business running, and given the tariff and all of this pressures, today their global markets and global market movements have severely been restricted. So it's affecting their day-to-day business, but they have to invest in this new thing called EV. How do you do this? It's one of the
Mhm.
big problems we are helping solve through their prioritization process. If you look at, let's say, pharma life sciences, as some of you may know, they have long R&D cycles. For example, if we have to, Dr. Reddy's is one of our customers, for example. So some of these pharma companies, they have to come up with new drugs or new molecules, right? That doesn't happen overnight. The molecular research goes on for years. Through those years, once the research happens, they have to take it to the market, they have to take it to the regulator, they have to do a host of tests. It has to have a long cycle of incubation before it goes into the market. How do you plan for 10-year long investment cycles? How do you make sure that what you're doing today, you're planning for 10 years down the line and the amount of changes that could happen in between? How do you do risk modeling, right? All of this are another set of use cases. So I can keep going on and on, but as you can imagine, these are the kind of problems Planview is helping solve.
Got it. Is it a product for the CFOs? I think these are the people who kind of prioritize where to allocate fund and all.
Not just CFOs. It's certainly a product for CEOs, CFOs, CTOs, because a lot of this is also about technology, CIOs, because CIOs are really driving application rationalization. So all of these CXO personas will be big users. But also even chief transformation officers, because I spoke a lot about change, right?
Right.
So many transformation officers also will be using this as a key tool.
Got it. Uh, let's talk about the other aspect of things that you do, converting projects into products. So tell us, is it just a trend that everybody is sort of trying to productize things? Because yeah, I mean, product brings a certain scalability factor to anything that you are doing. But is that a necessity for every business?
No, awesome question, by the way. No, not necessary. And this is something even we tell our customers. So, without getting too technical, when you talk of productization, right? Productization is a little different from product based thinking and product based operating. Product in a simple definition is you build once, you reuse many times. You don't keep building it for multiple people. You don't customize too many times. This is how we all think of a simple definition, which is still right. But now, if you take a few steps back and extrapolate, what does it mean if you're running a product business? It means your product team is building not for one customer, but for building an entire problem statement or an industry. Okay.
Hmm.
Second, you are funding for a product line and not for individual projects. Okay. And it also means how you recruit and organize a team. Product teams have to be long lasting. You can't keep putting somebody in 6 months, pull out, again put somebody, then again pull back. That is a project based mechanism.
Hmm.
All of these become traits of product related businesses. So, why is that operating model becoming so critical now? If you really look at it, businesses, right, they're in three different stages. Stage one is okay, I have a problem statement, I'm solving, I'm making money. I don't need to do more than what I'm doing. I'm just keeping up my ROI running, right? There you're constantly pushing and pulling just the P&L mechanisms. I'm selling more and more and more. But as you sell more and more, if you have a product, then your expenses of building something goes lesser and you're only focusing on more and more and more selling machinery.
Mhm.
Then there is a second kind of businesses who are like, okay, I have matured to an extent. I know whom I'm selling to which markets. Now I want to reduce all my technology expense. I want to get to one industry standard kind of product. Till now, maybe I was doing a lot of things around Excel and some scripts and this and that. But now I want to manage it in a little bit more standardized way so that I can be auditable, I can grow, I can scale, etc. Right? Then there is a third set of businesses who are truly transforming. They are like they want to change the world. Now, product operating model probably works a lot in category 2 and 3 because you need to have some maturity in the business to start really transforming into product driven businesses. But as you're incubating or as you're in the initial stages of a business as well, if you're creating with product type of thinking, where it is not about chasing customer one, customer two, customer three alone, but actually building so that you're solving a problem,
Hmm.
lasts longer for a business. So, I mean, if you take a local Indian successful businesses like your Freshdesk or your Fractal Analytics, these folks took a long time in incubating. Fractal is like a 25-year-old business. But
Hmm.
Shrikant and his team took their time in the beginning to build it as a product-based business so that what they were building back then is relevant and even more thriving even today.
Hmm.
Today, they have built a partnership with OpenAI to really change the whole data and analytics game. So, yeah. So, to your question, it's not about is it relevant to all, it's about what do you want to build and what stage are you in.
Got it. And India as a market, I think Indians are quite oriented towards the project-based thinking, and rightfully so. A lot of great processes have come out of India, like the IT boom. Then BPOs also came. They were primarily project-driven companies. ITES, now GCCs, everything are so project-driven. Is India the right market to think about product, because we are not oriented towards a product based thinking.
Can I challenge you there?
Yeah.
India, India is oriented to anything which is successful.
Okay.
So 25, 30 years ago, there was nothing called IT. We invented the services economy, correct?
Hmm.
So if we invented that, we can reinvent ourselves very, 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 very. So I mean, we should not even have a doubt there. Now, you said we are very oriented towards project-based thinking because the business was driving towards project-based thinking. Services business is about projects. So it was very relevant. There is nothing wrong in that. They are massively successful businesses. Now, product-oriented thinking also can really be driven here purely because number one, we have the biggest concentration of IT talent in various formations working across every business in the world. You can't get a better hub for innovation than India. Okay. Number two, yes, the switch from services to products is not always easy. The switch can be hard, but the concentration of talent, the ecosystem that we have today, which is it's not just a bunch of individual companies, but the companies coming together, the industries coming together. We have ecosystem providers, we have academia working to it. All of this coming together, and GCC, service provider, startups, these three are like the three ends of the trinity. Okay, if these three come together, this is the best place where you can really become the digital backbone for the entire world. When I say digital backbone, it's not just providing services and people, you're providing products, you're creating product IP right out of India. So I think this is the best location in my mind. Now, market, if you're selling it to India domestic market, I think that's where there is there is a clear nuance, because India as a market consuming Indian products or products as it is, I think there is a high degree of customization kind of mindset in our customers as they buy. I think that's where we will need some time to really understand sector by sector how do we sell it to Indian market.
Mhm.
But building, I think we are really ripe for being a product nation.
Got it. I also understand you have had a very long experience with BFSI and government sector. Even Planview is working a lot towards government and banking sector. So, what kind of projects have you been executing? How they are thinking about productizing things, and maybe go strategically about investing in different activities.
Okay. Yes, I've had a long stint in working with BFSI as a sector, largely global sectors, and I think in the recent past, a lot of India domestic. I think BFSI is a fascinating sector. I always have a little bit of a special corner for it, given how it has shaped my career and thinking. I think BFSI, in a way, is generally the one which goes into anything new fairly well. Cyclical, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when it gets in, it gets in, whether it was blockchain, whether it's AI, you look at the new revolution, you jump in. But at the same time, it's also a regulated industry. So there's always a push and a pull and push and pull in BFSI. When it comes to, and within BFSI also, each one is it's in its own structure. Insurance is a lot more regulated.
Mm-hmm.
Financial services, you have different kind of entities. Like if you take India market, NBFCs are probably are far more free from regulations, can be far more creative in the kind of offerings they give versus a traditional bank. Then again, from a retail banking to investment banking, there's a different degree of openness to taking on change, new things, etc. So that's kind of BFSI flavor. But I think BFSI has been adopting technology quite well in the last couple of decades. Especially the leading banks have really taken the entire user experience as the biggest trigger, pushed digitization to the limit. And some of these large interventions from government, especially in India, whether it is Jan Dhan banking or your Aadhaar, etc., I think are really pushing the whole financial inclusion part of it quite high. Having said that, you also talked of government. I think my exposure to governmental initiatives has been fascinating, especially in India. I think when I put on my Indian hat, not just technologist, it's really, really heartening to say the way technology has been adopted by our governmental initiatives. Frankly, India is probably one of those countries where government is a far more creative and technologically advanced entity than the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
And it's eye-opening to see the kind of experiments that our governmental bodies are ready to adopt and embrace, and the structure with which they're going, the organization and the methodic approach that they've taken. No, I'm in general very, very impressed, like I said, as a citizen and as a technologist, very, very happy to be helping that ecosystem. Of course, remember, when we're solving for India, we're solving for scale. We're solving for scale and security, because we're solving for are people who have probably the remotest access to technology or no access to technology. So those kind of problem statements don't exist anywhere else in the marketplace, in the world. So I think it's a unique problem to solve for. And my perspective has been, I think I see a lot of right level of attitude and investment and thinking and people and technology approaches I see in the governmental sector.
Got it. What are your thoughts on AI? Because I think AI has been a buzzword recently, and like you mentioned, the projects of yesterday are now products. They're the products of today, and going to be agents, AI agents of the future. So every product is again going to be converted into AI agents. And AI is really coming after every product, every job holder. AI is disrupting every space out there, every industry, every job role, and everywhere. It's all about AI these days. What are your thoughts around that?
Agree with everything that you said. I'm truly AI positive, which means that, of course, it's the potential and consequences can be quite beyond what we all today understand. But at the same time, the reason I'm AI positive is because I feel the opportunities or the abundance that AI can bring is quite immense. And it also, I think, becomes a good neutralizer for countries, for industries, for individuals who have been disadvantaged, maybe because they're in a certain geography, they're away from technology. All of this kind of starts becoming neutralizer because AI today has made availability of information to everybody as the easiest. Till now, information was power, information was king, right? Whoever held the most information, whoever held the most knowledge was the most powerful. But
Mm,
with AI today, anybody has access to information. Now I think the neutralization effect now suddenly opens up opportunities for everybody. But now it will start testing our traditional way of thinking.
mm,
And that's why it is both exciting and it also brings anxiety to people because suddenly what you thought you knew is not going to be the same tomorrow. I think it's an inflection point, Piranjan, because I mean, excited for what it can bring, fully conscious that each of us have to unlearn and learn. And as technologists, I think this opens up opportunities to solve many, many more problems which we in the past thought could never be solved.
right,
Now, with all of this, how do we ensure we bring the old generation, the new generation, and the upcoming generation of workforce in a seamless way? I think is going to be every industry leader's prerogative. That's what all of us are thinking, honestly. And that's something worth solving for.
got it. You spoke about the traditional way of thinking. AI is constantly challenging you to, change that way of thinking, and a lot of that thinking comes from the education system, which is very traditional in India.
Yeah.
And AI is constantly challenging you to probably, come out of that trap, and it's not relevant anymore. What would be your commentary on the education system in India and across the globe? And you've been advocate of STEM education as well. So, would love to hear your comments on what is the state of the education today, and how do you foresee or rather wish to go in the future?
Yeah, that's a very, very close topic to my heart, not just because of the profession that I'm in, but also because I'm a mother, constantly thinking how is this education relevant to my son? Um, few thoughts there, right? One is I'm still a strong believer in the fundamentals that we learn through our existing education system.
Mm,
If you and I and all the folks on this forum are successful, that's because we had those roots. I think our education system has its strongest roots. I don't think we should shy away from acknowledging the effect of that. It's still considered as one of the strongest ways of educating in the world, right? But when you look at where we need to evolve, I definitely see AI becoming a very integral part of every student's world, whether we like it or not. As a parent, whether I like it or not, I think it's going to
mm,
be very, very relevant. So, having said that, give me a moment, please. Sorry.
sure.
Having said that, I think one of the interesting things we have to really worry about is by using AI, are we providing more knowledge or are we taking away critical thinking abilities from a child or from a student?
Mm-hmm.
That's the pro and the con. The pro is suddenly AI gives you access to all information, so you can start really thinking about not just learning and learning the facts alone, which was what our textbooks used to be.
Right.
But now you can start building perspectives. But if you're outsourcing your thinking, if you're saying, okay, these are my questions, this is what I need to answer, these are my parameters, give me an answer, then you're outsourcing your brain, your decision making, your thinking to a machine. If that's where our next generation is going towards, then we are giving up our humanness. So that's my worry. So, how do you balance these two in a way that this becomes an assistant to you, but does not curb your thinking? I think is the balance as a teacher, as an education system, as a student, as a parent, you will have to really think about. Now, if I think of as an industry where I'm looking for employable talent who can be AI positive,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is where the traditional thinking, traditional education can become a deterrent because in traditional education, we are taught syntax, we're taught um, how to do something, but that how is changing. So, which means again goes back to thinking. So, if our education system can focus more and more on how do you think, how do you solve a problem rather than what technology do you use to solve the problem, I think that switch will really help on building more employable talent base. So, yeah, multiple perspectives.
Great. Just one last question before we end. Our channel is about entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship in general is seeing a lot of shift in recent days because AI has become a big enabler. Earlier, you probably would need a lot of people to start a venture. Now we are seeing the age of solopreneurs. Um, Earlier, it was all about idea. Whoever brings the brightest idea would, go on to build a very great venture. Then it became about execution. Ideas were everywhere. Execution was more critical. And today, even execution is taken care by AI. AI agents have come up, which is doing the work of human beings. What is the future of entrepreneurship? How do you advise people to go about entrepreneurship?
Number one, I don't think there will ever be a dearth of problems for any entrepreneur to solve because as human beings, I think we have been genetically predisposed to always look for a higher order of living. So if we solve today's 100 problems, we want to solve 100 more because we want to live a much better life. So,
Mm.
the number one is for any entrepreneur, there will always be a set of meaningful problems that they can solve for. Period. Okay. Now, you said it beautifully. I think in the past it was ideas. That was way back.
Yeah.
And then it became ideas to execution, then it became execution to scale, right? Because that long gestation period of building up scale needed people, investment, all of that. I think a lot more is neutralized. But I still think if you take the entrepreneur, by the way, I'm a big believer in our startup ecosystem and entrepreneurs. So I do my bit to help mentor, etc. So what I see is if you break down a founder's journey into a few stages, initial stage of how you discover, how you create the problem statement. Either you go with one customer saying, okay, I'll pay you if you solve for this, and then you try to build out business around it. Then second comes into sales, you kind of ditch the problem statement, you're chasing every customer and you're trying to build up your book of business. Then you finally somewhere arrive at, okay, this is my business where I'll figure out whether I'll win or lose. And you have two paths. You either sustain the business and grow it and scale it, or you end up losing the business. So that's kind
Mm.
of three stages, right? If you look at it, that scale bit is what probably get eased out because of the execution, the ability from AI.
Right.
The startup of the business, which is okay, I want to build up my prototype before I go take it to the market, is where I think it becomes again easier.
Mm.
But the whole concept of building the product market fit will still remain as an issue. that will take the maximum attention from the entrepreneur to truly sharpen the focus, laser sharp on what is the problem I'm trying to solve, which somebody is willing to pay for and will last long. That triad, what we call as product market fit and discovery, I don't think will go away. The technology could help you, but it can only give you perspective based on the input you're giving, right? So I think that will, in my mind, in the next short-term future, will become the biggest consumer of time and attention from a founder, rather than chasing how many people do I hire, what is my comp, because all of that you can build it through agentic.
Yes.
But then, if you take it next level and extrapolate, imagine when you have multiple agents interacting from every startup, and then you have enterprises with their own agents. I think that's a different world, Priyaranjan. I don't think you and I really know how will that world work, because when multiple agents work with each other, how do they interact? Is today an unpredictable behavior. I think we will have to learn how to build through that business model then.
Yes, I think that's so true and beautifully explained. Um, all right. So on this note, I would say thanks for joining our session, Shalini. We will close here. Pleasure speaking with you, and thanks for sharing all the insights that you have gathered over the years.
No, great questions, and thank you, and all the very best for ELI. And keep at it, keep the journey going.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.